Now, why to worry about finance? I'm a person from the purchase function. Why should I worry about finance? Finance is the job of the people who are in the finance department. Finance is the job of the people who are the accounts department. Let them talk about finance. Let them worry about finance. Why do I, as a purchase person, as a person, why should I worry about finance? That is one question that can come in the minds of every one of us. And the second question that can come, okay, if I have to understand finance, if I have to really focus on finance, how to strengthen my understanding of finance? I'm sure, friends, these two questions must be coming in the minds of every one of you. Now, answer to this question is number one, we need to worry about finance firstly because monitoring of financial health of our vendors is in our own interest is in our own interest. Rather, it is an essential part of risk management action plan of ours. A lot of our operations are dependent on the operations of our vendors and suppliers. And therefore, I need to worry about finance because only when I understand finance, I will be able to figure out as to how my vendors are working, how my vendors are performing, how my vendors are doing. Are they doing safe or they are doing something which is unsafe? So that is one reason as to why do we need to worry about finance. Number two, we need to worry about finance because, and I'm sure it must be experience of every one of us who are there on this program, majority of the decisions that we take in our day-to-day business operations in particular and life in general are based on finance. तो हम हमारे डे टू डे ऑपरेशंस में जो भी डिसीजन लेते हैं वॉट एवर इट मे बी यू विल रियलाइज दैट इन द बॉटम ऑफ इट what is there is finance. I have I have a new component to be developed. I have got 4 vendors. I have to take a decision as to which vendor is going to be more dependable for me, which vendor is going to be more profitable for me. So ultimately, what is that will decide is the profit. And remember, the what is that will decide is the profit and also his risk index. His risk index is also a number. His profit is also a number. So therefore, all the decisions that we take in our business, not only in our business, in our day-to-day life also, personal life also, what decisions that we take are always based on numbers. And that is why we need to have good understanding of finance. And finally, friends, there are many other reasons for which we need to have good understanding of finance. और हमको finance के क्या क्या फायदे हैं, क्या क्या advantages हैं, क्या क्या benefits हैं, we that also prompt us to have a good understanding of finance. So meeting expectations of the organization. I'm working in the company. Obviously, when I'm working in the company, in the organization, my company has got a lot of expectation from me. So if I have to fulfill all those expectations, what do I need to do? I need to have good understanding of finance. Why? Because what drives my company, what drives my organization is the finance, is the profit. And that is why I need to have good understanding of finance. Achieving self-reliance and independence. So every time if I have to depend on someone to let me know उसकी cost क्या है, to let me know उसकी EBITDA क्या है, to let me know उस पर gross profit कितना आ रहा है, you can imagine what is going to happen. So much of dependence on so many external people can really delay or slow your decision making process. And that is why we need to have good understanding of finance. Roadmap for higher growth. Appreciating implications of corporate decisions. So many decisions are taken by the group companies, by the company, right? So how those what are the implications of those decisions? That is, if we have to be aware of those implications, we need to have good understanding of finance. Budgeting and budgetary control. I am sure every one of us in one way or the other every year must be contributing to the process of budgeting of the whole company. And in that process of budgeting and budgetary control of the company, we have to give a lot of input. So merely giving input is one thing. Understanding the implication of that input can really change the things for us completely. So to be more efficient, more effective, more purposeful, more meaningful, more profitable in the process of budgeting and budgetary control, we need to have good understanding of finance. effective benchmarking. How are we doing? How is Tata Motors doing vis-a-vis the other automobile manufacturer? So if we have to do that benchmarking, so we need to have good understanding of finance. Only when we understand finance, we can do the benchmarking. And by benchmarking, we can find out who is doing the best and then pick up those best practices, apply them and improve your own performance. Better understanding of competition, being sharp in negotiation, obviously. So all of us being the part of the purchase team have to do so many negotiations, and if we have to do so many negotiations, one thing that we need to understand is numbers. EBITDA क्या है, ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट क्या है, COGS क्या है, कंट्रीब्यूशन क्या है, ब्रेक इवन पॉइंट क्या है, कैश ब्रेक इवन पॉइंट क्या है, ब्रेक इवन को कैसे इंप्रूव कर सकते हैं. All that we need to understand, and that will help us in being sharp in negotiations. Correct performance evaluation, adding value beyond our normal function, contributing to top level deliberation. So the board meetings are happening, the senior management executive meetings are happening, all over the group meetings are happening, and to all those group meetings which are at the board level or at the senior executive level or the group level, all of us need to contribute some input or the other from time to time. To understand the implications of that input will definitely help us make a better contribution towards the top management deliberations, and for that we need to have good understanding of finance. And finally, friends, of course, to assess financial risk and stability of our vendors, for that also we need to have good understanding of finance. So these are the reasons for which we need to have good understanding of finance. Now अब सवाल ये है कि ठीक है, सब समझ गए, अंडरस्टूड, एवरीथिंग इज फाइन, लेकिन फाइनेंस की अंडरस्टैंडिंग इंप्रूव कैसे होगी? हाउ टू बी गुड इन फाइनेंस, हाउ टू बी गुड इन फाइनेंस. एंड फ्रेंड्स, लेट मी टेल यू, द गुड न्यूज इज फॉर यू एंड मी टू बी गुड इन फाइनेंस, रियली स्पीकिंग, हमको MBA करने की जरूरत नहीं है, हमको CA करने की जरूरत नहीं है, हमको कॉस्ट अकाउंटेंसी करने की जरूरत नहीं है, हमको CPA करने की जरूरत नहीं है, हमको कोई भी फॉर्मल क्वालिफिकेशन लेने की जरूरत नहीं है फॉर बीइंग गुड इन फाइनेंस. What we need to do? We only need to understand 3 statements. And which are those 3 statements? Those 3 statements are, as you can see on your screen, number 1 is the profit and loss statement, and number 2 is the balance sheet, and number 3 is the fund flow statement or the cash flow statement. ये 3 statements हैं जो कि हमको समझने की जरूरत है for being good in finance, and that is what we are going to cover one by one in this session. So that is number 1. P&L, balance sheet, fund flow or cash flow. Now, I know all of you are engineer, or most of you are engineers, and I know that you all understand what is neutron, proton and electron. So जिस तरह से the way in physics, if I understand what is neutron, proton.
Sorry to interrupt you. What is the difference between fund flow and cash flow?
Yes, I'm going to cover that actually. I'm just at the moment explaining as to what all we need to understand to be good in finance, and to strengthen our understanding of finance. I'm going to explain to you what is fund flow and cash flow as we move on. No worries on that account.
Right, thank you.
Yeah. So now, अब जैसे P&L, बैलेंस शीट और कैश फ्लो, फंड फ्लो, ये क्या है? दीज आर लाइक न्यूट्रॉन्स, प्रोटॉन्स एंड इलेक्ट्रॉन. अब फिजिक्स में अगर हमको न्यूट्रॉन समझ जाए, प्रोटॉन समझ जाए, इलेक्ट्रॉन समझ जाए, once we have the understanding of all these 3 elements, we can solve any problem in physics. Friends, same is the case in the domain of finance. If we understand what is P&L, if we understand what is balance sheet, if we understand what is cash flow or fund flow, it is like understanding the proton, neutron, electron of finance. And with the help of this understanding, we would be able to solve each and every problem in finance, and I'm sure that is what we would see. We would be looking all these 3 statements one by one, and that time I would explain to you as to what is the difference between the fund flow statement and the cash flow statement. अब ये तीनों चीज एक बार हमको P&L क्या है समझ में आ गया, और मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ, आई एम टेलिंग यू एट दिस पॉइंट इन टाइम, बहुत मुश्किल नहीं है, बहुत सिंपल है, एंड आई एम श्योर दिस इज व्हाट इज गोइंग टू बी योर एक्सपीरियंस. सो वंस वी अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज P&L, बैलेंस शीट एंड फंड फ्लो एंड कैश फ्लो, what we need to understand how to connect them, and that is what we will do. We will understand as to how to connect them. So that is number 1. That is the first thing that you and I need to do for becoming good in finance. Number 2, what we need to do, we need to answer few fundamental questions about business. Few very fundamental questions about business. And what those fundamental questions are? Those fundamental questions are: number one, what is purpose of a business? What is purpose of a business? Number two, how decisions are taken in business. And number three, how are the business empires built on this earth? So in any part of the world, there are so many business empires. Tata Group is one of them. Tata Business Empire is one of them. So we need to also understand as to how the business empires are built. And as I said, friends, this program is going to be interactive. I am going to encourage all of you to ask me a lot of questions as and when you have any question. Likewise, I'm also going to ask you a lot of questions. And I want to ask this question to all of you. Please tell me, according to you, what is purpose of a business? All of you.
Profit.
Profit. Okay, very good.
To earn money, to give the job to the people.
Yep. Very good. To earn money, to give job to the people, to earn profit.
Satisfy all the stakeholders.
Satisfy
Value creation.
satisfy all the stakeholders. Very good. Very good. What else? What else?
Value of economy.
Say it again, please.
Value of economy.
Very good. Excellent. Growth of economy. Very good. Very nice. Very good. Two more.
Business expansion. Value creation.
Value creation, business expansion, and of course